Talia Ricci tonight. The city of Markham places an HR director on leave for saying the N-word during a guest lecture. The incident happened during a presentation to more than 100 George Brown students. The city of Markham says it's hired a third-party investigator to review the situation. Plus,
they said the anti-food signs are not appropriate.
An artist is speaking out after a public library refused to display an exhibition unless it excluded certain political content. And
definitely a childhood dream. I mean, obviously wanting to win and be first in our league and bring home the cup.
The Toronto Six professional women's hockey team goes after their goal of becoming the first Canadian club to win an Isabel Cup. A George Brown College visiting lecturer is apologizing tonight after using the N-word in class. The woman has been placed on leave from her job. Lorenzo Redekop has the details.
The George Brown class yesterday wasn't in person, but done over Zoom. The guest lecturer, Janet Ashfield, works in human resources for the city of Markham. She was explaining a workplace case study involving two firefighters. One of them, who's a black employee, had used the N-word, describing how he was made to feel. In her slide, the entire word appeared on screen, and later she said it.
And his tweet was, it's like the first firefighter calling him
A student later objects.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
Do you think you can address some of the comments in the chat regarding the word that you said?
Yep.
Some just feel it's very inappropriate to say that.
You are quite right. That is an absolutely inappropriate word to be used. But that's the word that was used. That's the word that came out in the investigation.
Ashfield continues.
It's not a word I use. Okay, and I appreciate that you're not happy with that. And I will apologize.
But she told the class she wanted them to understand what was said.
I just don't agree that it should be said at all, especially from someone who's Caucasian. It's a very racist term. It should not be said by anyone who is not Black. And it's like an incredibly racializing word.
Today, Ashfield sent a letter of apology to the students. She writes, "My error in judgment caused significant harm, and for that I am truly sorry." She also says, "In my attempt to teach students about fostering a safe and respectful workplace, I used inappropriate language that contradicted my core objectives for the discussion." The president of George Brown College sent a statement saying the college immediately launched a formal investigation, calling this a disturbing and troubling incident involving the use of the N-word by a guest speaker who is not employed by the college. "We condemn this behavior in the strongest terms and are taking this matter extremely seriously." The college says it's connecting directly with the students and providing supports, including counseling. The city of Markham says Ashfield has now been placed on administrative leave, and a third-party investigator is looking into this. Lorenzo Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
CBC weather reporter Fiona Odlum joins us now for a first look at the forecast. And Fiona, some messy weather expected just outside of the GTA.
Talia, we are in storm mode now. We have a lot of watches and warnings. Now, none exactly right in the GTA, but you can see all of these to the west of us, and we are going to see impacts from this storm, just not quite as heavy. But this pink here is a thing that we need to really keep an eye on. This is the area that's telling us that we're going to see some extreme winds coming off of the lakes, and so we could see a little lakeshore effect snow coming in, and that will be an impact for us as well. So here's what we're dealing with. This storm is starting to make its way through. We're looking for these moments of scattered showers and then bigger rain on the horizon. We're going to see widespread soaking rain into the region, and we're looking for anywhere between 15 to 20 millimeters of rain by the time this storm wraps up. Well, I should say storm number one, because after that we see cool air coming in, and then we start seeing some flurries. Now, it won't be a whole lot of snow, but it'll be enough to make sure that the moisture that we get tomorrow will freeze up on the roads and be hidden by that layer of snow. So we have that light rain has already started. It's going to be windy tomorrow. We're going to watch that rain ending around 6 o'clock-ish. Then on Saturday, we're going to watch the flurries beginning in the afternoon and windy, and then we'll see the snow ending Saturday night. Tonight, we're going to look for about 2 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, 7, windy, and a lot of rain, Talia.
Thanks, Fiona. 2 police officers were shot and killed in Edmonton while responding to a domestic dispute call early this morning. The male suspect in the shooting, who is also dead, was 16 years old. A woman who was injured and taken to hospital is his mother. The city's police chief calls the loss devastating.
These 2 members died in service and protection of our community, and their lives and sacrifice will not be forgotten.
Constables Brett Ryan and Travis Jordan were shot as they arrived at an apartment shortly after midnight local time. Police say it appeared the officers did not have a chance to draw their weapons before they were shot. They were rushed to hospital by colleagues where they were pronounced dead. It's believed the suspect died from self-inflicted gun wounds. Today, Crown attorneys responded to convicted killers Mark Smitch and Dylan Millard's appeal for new trials. The 2 men were convicted and sentenced to life in 2016 for the murder of Tim Bosma. They're also serving a 2nd consecutive life sentence for murdering Laura Babcock, while Millard received a 3rd life sentence for killing his father. Ali Chiasson has the details from the courthouse.
Today was all about the Crown. A phalanx of attorneys working to dismantle Mark Smitch and Dylan Millard's appeals to get their murder convictions overturned. Millard said his trials were doomed from the start because of how, according to him, unfairly maligned he was by the lawyer who represented Mark Smitch in court. Smitch, who was also convicted of murdering Laura Babcock and Tim Bosma. Millard suggested the jury would have been biased for having heard so much unflattering testimony and that it bolstered the prosecution against him. But bad character evidence, as it's known in law, is not grounds for a retrial, said the Crown. Quote, the appellant's submission of the jury leaping from character to guilt and about the Crown profiting from the evidence tendered by Smitch are legally incorrect. The Crown's Katie Doherty pointed out that the trial judge in 2016 explicitly instructed the jury not to rule solely on the bad character evidence pertaining to Millard's personality, and to appreciate the context in that it was coming from Smitch's lawyer, who was defending his client by saying Millard was the murderer, not Smitch. They also read from the trial judge's instruction to the jury back in 2016, a reminder to not let the emotion of the trial sway them. Quote, you shall not internalize any victimization of this crime in your judgment. The Crown's Benita Wassenaar also responded to Mark Smitch's appeal for his own conviction in the Bosma case. She rebuffed his argument that he wasn't party to the killing and just helped to dispose of the body in the airplane hangar. Quote, Mr. Millard and Mr. Smitch were in fact together for really the most salient events in terms of arriving together at the Bosma home and leaving together in the Bosma truck and being at the hangar.
The case has been made in the Laura Babcock murder convictions. Today, the Tim Bosma appeals wrapped up. Tomorrow, Dylan Millard will be on his own, arguing the appeal of his murder conviction in the killing of his father, Wayne. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Police have arrested a man who allegedly pulled a knife on a Muslim woman on a subway last week. Officers say police were called to Wilson Station on Thursday after reports of a person with a knife. It's alleged a woman was riding the subway southbound when she was approached by a man who became agitated and pulled out a knife. The woman was able to get off the train and flee. The National Council of Canadian Muslims says the woman was wearing a hijab at the time, and police say they believe she was targeted because of her faith. A 47-year-old man was arrested today and charged with offenses, including assault with a weapon. Police in Oshawa have charged a 32-year-old man accused of assaulting a snowplow driver. It happened earlier this month after a snowstorm while the driver was clearing snow in front of the man's house.
A pile of snow had blocked the male's driveway after the snowstorm that had gone through that weekend, causing the homeowner to become upset and ultimately assaulting the snowplow driver.
Police in Peel and Durham both say a number of incidents involving abuse towards snowplow operators have been reported in recent weeks. Police are asking residents to call the city, not police, if they are unhappy with snow clearing operations. A woman says the town of Aurora's public library won't display an exhibition of hers unless she removes pictures and statements that are critical of Doug Ford. The art display was meant to celebrate women's rights and includes pictures from protests. Now, a constitutional law expert says the library is violating her charter rights. Patrick Swadden has her story.
This one, it's about the latest march, actually the first in-person Women's March after the pandemic.
Yifang Shi has spent years documenting women's rights movements. Her latest work, an exhibition featuring photograph collages of protests in Canada and abroad. Aurora Public Library was going to display it just in time for International Women's Day, but now they're refusing to. The reason? This picture, and this one, and this one.
They said the anti-Ford signs are not appropriate.
The library told Shi they wouldn't run it unless she removed the collages showing anti-Ford protesters and heavily edited her artist statement, which included language critical of Donald Trump.
For me, it was heartbreaking and also very stressed, and I have a lot of sleepless days and nights.
The library says they can't include pictures critical of government officials because they're publicly funded. But she says the exhibition criticizes many governments, including China's and Iran's.
The library said you can include that part, but cannot include protests about works rights here or abortion rights here. It doesn't make sense at all.
It's really hard to imagine how.
And this constitutional law expert isn't buying what the library's saying.
And there is absolutely no question that the library is violating Ms. Shi's freedom of expression guaranteed under Section 2B of the Charter.
Jackman says the reason they're giving for censoring the work is the same reason they should be showing it.
It's a publicly funded public institution, and so the Charter applies to absolutely every decision that it makes.
The library says it reserves the right to refuse or cancel displays at any time at its discretion, but
that is simply not a legitimate decision for the library or for any government entity to make. Just because they reserve the right to do it doesn't make it charter-proof.
Meanwhile, she says she's not backing down and wants the exhibit viewed in its entirety.
They are the voices from the movements. They are authentic, they are genuine, they are urgent, they are important. They should be heard.
Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
The provincial NDP have hung on to an important seat in the legislature after a by-election to replace former party leader turned Hamilton Mayor Andrea Horwath. CBC's Decision Desk declared early tonight that Sarah Jama, a disability and housing advocate, will be Hamilton Centre's next MPP. Horwath had held the seat for the last 16 years. Her departure left a void that 10 candidates registered to fill. The polls closed at 9, with Jama being declared the winner only half an hour later. Welcome back. Our Toronto Raptors were at home tonight, the team looking to extend a hot streak they've been on while playing in front of hometown fans.
OG knocking down those threes. In the bench, Gary Trent Jr. provided 23, and the Raptors come away with the W.
With that, the wins just keep on rolling. That was Toronto's 6th straight win at home. Pascal Siakam scored 25 points tonight with 13 rebounds to beat the Thunder. The Raps are fighting for their playoff lives, but remain on the outside looking in after tonight's win. The Toronto Six are on a mission to bring home the Isabelle Cup for the first time in franchise history. While the team is laser focused on that goal, they're also mindful of the larger picture, growing women's hockey. Dale Manukduk has more.
The last 2 seasons, have kind of ended, for me and my team as a bit of a disappointment. So there's a lot on the line here for us. It's all I've been kind of focused on all year is bringing this cup home.
The Toronto Six are practicing hard ahead of tomorrow night's opening round playoff game. They've never hoisted the Isabelle Cup, the last 2 seasons being knocked out by the eventual champion Boston Pride.
It's the female hockey of the Stanley Cup, so it's meaningful for us, and it's what we work all year for.
But what many of the players have been working their whole lives for is trying to make sure women's professional hockey is sustainable.
Obviously, as a women's hockey player, we want to be able to have this as our full-time job, and that's the goal here.
That's not the case yet for these players. Brittany Howard is a supply teacher. She also happens to be 10-year-old Goldie Grunberg's favorite player. And while the Six haven't yet won a cup, they've already succeeded in making little girls dream big.
Well, I really want to be professional, but I also want to play really good, like maybe D3 university hockey and all those. I want to just make a university team.
Yeah! There you go! Grunberg is the leading scorer for the U11 North York Storm girls team. Her and her father are going to the second T6 playoff game on Saturday, giving the family a chance to look into the future.
It's everything. It means that they can have dreams and aspirations and work towards goals and not, have an off-ramp at 14 or 15 with a passion of theirs.
While hockey is a passion for the players, so too is being a role model.
I realize playing professionally is opening up so many doors for the girls behind me that are going to want to play professionally moving forward. So playing pro now means the world to me. It means that I'm a piece of representation.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
And there's a live look at the city skyline tonight. Cloudy skies and currently sitting at around 7 degrees after a mild, sunny day. And Fiona's back now with our extended forecast. Fiona, it seems like that taste of calm weather we had today isn't sticking around.
Talia, I really hope that you took your umbrella with you to work today, because you're going to need it as you leave the building tonight. Look at this widespread rain. We've got very heavy rain coming towards us, 5-10 millimeters tonight overnight in Toronto, another possible 10 to 15 tomorrow. Looking probably a little closer when it's all done to around 20 millimeters of rain. This isn't going to be any weather record breaking totals. We thought we might get there, but the numbers are starting to scale back. You can see, though, how completely widespread and soaking this rain is going to be. It stays as rain in the south because it was so warm today. 9-10 degrees was our high. But that's about to change with cool air moving in. So as we get towards Saturday, any of that moisture that's still lingering is going to present itself as snow. So we can see a little bit of snow here. A lot of it seems to be to the west of Toronto, which is going to be helpful to us. So we're looking for anywhere between 1 to possibly 2 centimeters of snow in towards the GTA. But just remember that we are also going to be looking for a little bit of ice under there, because when the temperature starts to transition, that's when we're going to see some icy roads and sidewalks. Looking for about 14 to 20 millimeters of rain in towards Toronto. We're also going to be watching for the wind. That's going to be a huge factor for us. We're going to be looking for wind gusts throughout the day tomorrow into the 50s, possibly 60s. And so that's going to be our big concern in terms of visibility. Our long-range forecast, pretty messy for Friday and Saturday. Then once we get to Sunday, we're good, Talia.
Thanks, Fiona. Largest zoo has temporarily closed access to its bird park. It's being extra careful after several cases of avian flu was discovered within 200 kilometers of the zoo. And as we hear from Idil Musa, these outbreaks can be damaging to other birds and animals.
Visitors flocking to the Toronto Zoo in hopes of catching a glimpse of exotic birds will have to wait. Several cases of a highly contagious strain of avian flu were confirmed in southern Ontario this week, and the zoo isn't taking any chances.
We took the proactive steps to close our aviaries to our guests to protect the birds that are in our care.
There were major outbreaks last year of the H5N1 virus around the world. In Canada, nearly 5 million domestic birds were infected, and more than 250 farms and facilities experienced outbreaks, according to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Experts say seasonal avian flu outbreaks will likely continue to happen.
That is associated with migratory birds. So it's primarily being transmitted because of migration of those birds, and that's why there's some seasonality to the behavior of this virus.
Sharif says the risk to humans is low, but this particular strain of avian flu is lethal to birds, and it's proven deadly to other animals too. 8 skunks found dead in British Columbia last month tested positive.
We suspect these skunks became infected by eating dead wild birds.
BC says it's investing $5 million in its poultry and livestock sector to help reduce and prevent disease outbreaks.
As the virus has changed, it is now a year-round challenge that we are facing. These funds will allow us to bring on full-time staff and infrastructure to be able to better respond in the future.
Chicken Farmers of Canada says the impact of avian influenza on poultry farms over the last year has been significant. So farmers are working closely with federal and provincial bodies to reduce the risk of outbreaks. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
Finally tonight, a Toronto artist is giving away 100 pairs of one-of-a-kind Nike shoes to help youth transitioning out of government care. Painted shoes that he says hold a special meaning.
When I was living on the streets, you don't always have a great pair of shoes. A lot of times they have holes in them, and that can be kind of tough during the winters. And, the odd time someone would give me a pair of shoes, it was magical, and you felt like maybe there was a little bit of hope. Because, you need to get where you're going with shoes. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice to do something and give back? And
Daniel Mazzoni, along with Drip Toronto, are donating the Nike Air Force Ones. He's auctioning off 10 of them to raise money for Children's Aid Foundation of Canada. The auction kicked off yesterday on World Shoe Day and will go until the end of the month. The day is meant to raise awareness for those who can't access quality shoes.
He understands that it's even more than the shoes or more than the money. It's the idea that somebody, like a total stranger, actually sees them and acknowledges them and gets them that they need a hand, because they're kind of invisible in our community a lot of the time. So I think that's the powerful message that a promotion like this, 100 pairs of shoes, helps communicate to youth.
The foundation funds programs that help youth gain the skills, networks, and resources they need to get out on their own. Mazzoni says he hopes the funds and the shoes will ultimately help youth start out on the right foot. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Chris Glover has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Good night.